They buried it. Three of the biggest names in music made a song together, and somebody with a lot of power decided the world wasn't supposed to hear it, but it surfaced anyway. And what's on that track? It changes everything you thought you knew about all three of them. Everything. Now, before we even get into what this song sounds like, I need you to understand something. This is not just some random, unreleased track that got tossed in a folder and forgotten. No, this is a calculated burial. This is a record that by every measurable standard in the music industry should have been one of the biggest songs of whatever year it was made. We're talking about Baby Keem, Kendrick Lamar, and Rihanna on the same song, together. Let that sit with you for a second. Baby Keem, Kendrick Lamar, and Rihanna. Do you understand how absurd it is that a collaboration between those three names exists and nobody told us? Nobody said a word, not a whisper from PG Lang, not a peep from Rock Nation, not a single breadcrumb dropped on social media from any of their camps. It just existed in the dark, quietly collecting digital dust on somebody's encrypted hard drive, while we were out here starving for new Rihanna music for a decade. And look, I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, is this AI? Is this some fan-made thing? Trust me, I went through the same mental spiral. Because these days, you can't trust anything. AI has gotten so sophisticated that you hear a track and your first instinct isn't to enjoy it anymore, it's to forensically analyze whether the vocals are real. But here's the thing, I've gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. The consensus from everyone who's broken this down, every producer, every engineer who's weighed in, every person in those comment sections doing the detective work, this is real. This is an authentic, fully recorded, studio-quality collaboration. And now that we know it's real, the question shifts from, is this legit, to something far more unsettling. Why was it hidden? But hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself, because to truly understand why this song being buried is such a massive deal, you need to understand the web that connects these three artists. And that web, it goes deeper than most people realize. Let's start with the family connection that the mainstream media has always undersold. Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem are not just label mates on PG Lang, they are blood, family. Kendrick himself confirmed it. Keem's mom is Kendrick's first cousin, making them second cousins. And Kendrick has been candid about understanding the hardship in their family, watching what Keem's mother went through, even before Keem was born. This isn't a business relationship with a family label slapped on it for marketing. This is generational. This is DNA-level loyalty. And that loyalty, it runs deeper than features and cosigns. Because here's what most people still don't fully grasp, even though the evidence has been sitting right in front of us for years. Kendrick Lamar has been ghostwriting, or more accurately, writing reference tracks for Baby Keem since at least 2018. And we're not talking about one or two songs. The leaked documents and reference tracks that surfaced in late 2025 paint a picture that is absolutely staggering in its scope. Let me give you the receipts, because this is the part nobody was ready for. Kendrick Lamar wrote reference tracks for Baby Keem on Opinions, on A New Day, on So What, Check Please, Bullies, Bus Her Up, Not My Bro, Rockstar P, Stats, Patience Interlude, South Africa, Boomin', 16, and those are just the ones we know about, the ones that leaked. There are still unreleased reference tracks floating around for songs like Cult, Died for His Bitch, Snack to Snack, White Tea, and Park. That is an entire discography's worth of creative DNA flowing directly from Kendrick into Keem's catalog. Now pause. Think about what that means for a second. When you listened to Baby Keem's music and thought, this kid has something special, he reminds me of Kendrick, but different, you weren't imagining things. The creative fingerprints were literally Kendrick's in many cases. The cadences, the melodic choices, the way certain phrases land. That wasn't just influence from growing up around a genius. That was the genius literally architecting the blueprint and handing it to his younger cousin to build on. Now I know what's coming, I already see it. Before anyone tries to turn this into a negative, Before the Drake fans come crawling out the woodwork trying to scream ghostwriting like it's some kind of gotcha moment, let me be very, very clear about something. Reference tracks are standard practice in the industry. They're collaborative tools. Kendrick building a foundation that Keem then takes and makes his own is mentorship at the highest level. It's a master craftsman teaching his apprentice by showing, not just telling. And Keem has proven, especially with Casino, that he has evolved into his own fully realized artist. That album is a statement. It's thematic, it's precise, it's structured like a bonsai tree where every single cut has to be methodical and intentional. That's not the work of someone who's just reading off someone else's notes. That's pure, undiluted artistry. But here's where the plot thickens, because Kendrick wasn't just writing for Keem. Those same leaked files revealed something else, something that connects directly to the buried song we're talking about today. Kendrick Lamar also wrote reference tracks for Rihanna, specifically two songs that have never seen the light of day, FIU and Trouble Me. Let that sink in. Kendrick was literally creating music for Rihanna, writing songs intended for her voice, her delivery, her next album. These tracks were reportedly crafted around 2018, during a period when Rihanna was supposedly deep in the process of building what we all desperately want to hear, R9, the mythical ninth album, the album that has become the music industry's version of a UFO sighting. Everyone's heard rumors, everyone believes it exists, but nobody can confirm when or if we'll ever actually witness it. And this is where the Rihanna situation becomes genuinely fascinating, because for 10 years, Rihanna has been holding the entire music world hostage with the promise of new music. Anti dropped in 2016. That album celebrated its 10th anniversary in February 2026, and it was still climbing the streaming charts, cracking new peaks on Billboard's top streaming albums chart like it was released yesterday. That is an unprecedented level of cultural staying power. Rihanna doesn't need to release music. She is a billionaire. She has Fenty, she has Savage X Fenty, she has a family with A$AP Rocky. Music is not a financial necessity for her. It's a creative choice. And for a decade, she has chosen silence. But she hasn't been completely silent, has she? There have been breadcrumbs. In 2024, she confirmed she was ready to get back in the studio. By 2025, she revealed she had cracked it, figured out the direction for the album. She also revealed that the reggae-inspired direction she had been exploring for years was scrapped entirely. She was going in a completely different direction. And as of early 2026, there's still no release date. No official single, just more teasing, more waiting. Now think about that timeline. 2018, Kendrick is writing reference tracks for Rihanna. Around that same period, a fully completed song exists with Baby Keem, Kendrick, and Rihanna together. And yet, none of this music ever sees the light of day. Rihanna scraps her album direction entirely. The reference tracks get buried, the collaboration gets vaulted. Something happened behind the scenes that made someone, or multiple someones, decide this music needed to stay hidden. And that is what makes this leaked track so explosive. Because when you actually sit down and hear it, when you press play and let this thing wash over you, you realize they weren't sitting on some throwaway Lucy. They weren't hiding some rough demo that didn't make the cut for quality reasons. No, they were sitting on a legitimate, undeniable, career-defining record, and they chose to keep it from us. All right, now we get to the part you've been waiting for. Let's talk about the actual song. Because the moment this track starts playing, the very first second, you understand immediately why this should have been released. The production hits first, and it's polished, it's layered. It has that infectious energy that sits right at the intersection of hip-hop and pop without sacrificing credibility in either lane. Baby Keem opens things up with a hook that does what Keem hooks always do. They burrow into your brain like a parasite and refuse to leave. Tell me you want me. That melody, that cadence, the way he delivers it, it's an earworm of the highest order. Keem has always had this gift. He understands that a great hook doesn't have to be complicated. It has to be felt. And you feel this immediately. It's catchy, it's rhythmic, it sticks. And then you hear it. That voice. That unmistakable one of one, there is no other voice on this planet that sounds like that voice. Rihanna. Now here's the thing. When Rihanna comes in on this track, something shifts. The entire energy of the song transforms.
Because Rihanna doesn't just sing on this song, she raps. And I need you to understand, Rihanna rapping is not some novelty gimmick. She comes in with actual bars, actual cadence, actual flow. She's chopping up the beat with this aggressive, confident delivery that makes you sit straight up in your chair and say, wait, what? And then, as if the rapping wasn't enough, she transitions into this falsetto, mid-verse. She goes from spitting bars to hitting this ethereal, floating vocal run without skipping a beat. It's the musical equivalent of someone beating you in a boxing match with one hand tied behind their back and then pulling out a weapon they didn't even need. She was already winning with the hands. She didn't need the extra firepower, but she brought it anyway, just because she could. And it's absolutely devastating. You're sitting there, mouth open, headphones on, trying to process what you just witnessed. There's a specific line in her verse. She says, "Say that." And I'm telling you, in a just universe, that one moment alone, just those two words delivered with Rihanna's voice and Rihanna's energy would have moved 1,000,000 units. That's not hyperbole. That's how powerful her presence is on this track. The Barbadian queen walked into that studio on that particular day and reminded every single person in the room why the world has been waiting a decade for her to come back. And here's what makes it even crazier. If you're keeping score, if you're actually sitting there trying to objectively evaluate who had the best performance on this three-way collaboration between Baby Keem, Kendrick Lamar, and Rihanna, there's a very strong argument that Rihanna had the best verse on a song with Kendrick Lamar, one of the greatest lyricists of his generation, maybe of all time, and Rihanna might have bodied him. Now, to be fair to Kendrick, and I want to be very precise about this, it sounds like Kendrick came into this session with the safety on, like he consciously decided, okay, this is a fun track. We've got Rihanna here, let's make this a vibe. I don't need to rap somebody's brain off their head and spin it 360 degrees. He went more melodic. He leaned into the groove rather than trying to dominate it. And even in that mode, even with one hand tied behind his back, he's still undeniably Kendrick. The wordplay is still there, the layers are still there. There's this bar about people liking him when he wears his halo, but the mood not changing. That duality of the righteous and the ratchet, the heavenly and the demonic. Classic Kendrick territory, delivered with a lighter touch. But Rihanna didn't get the memo about taking it easy. She came in like a tortoise in the tortoise and the hare fable, except this tortoise was carrying a rocket launcher. Slow and steady, methodical, surgical, and before anyone realized what was happening, she had overtaken everyone. Kendrick took a nap thinking he had the race won, and Rihanna quietly and devastatingly passed him while he was sleeping. And then there's Keem. Beautiful, melodic, hook master Baby Keem. Doing what Keem does best, holding the structure together, providing the connective tissue, singing with that unique tonality that makes him one of the most interesting voices in modern hip-hop. Keem is the cheat code on this record. He's the glue. Without him, this is just a Kendrick and Rihanna song. With him, it becomes something else entirely. This three-headed monster where each head has a completely different personality, but they all share the same body. Now, the million-dollar question. Actually, let me rephrase that. The multi-platinum question. Why didn't this come out? I've thought about this extensively, and there are really only a few plausible theories. Theory 1, the most commonly discussed, is the Kane theory. Baby Keem's album Kano, which dropped in February 2026, is one of the most meticulously crafted projects in recent hip-hop memory. It's themed, it's cohesive, it's structured like, and I keep coming back to this metaphor because it's perfect, like those bonsai trees where every single cut has to be scientifically precise, methodically planned, sculptured with intention. The album lives in a very specific sonic world. It has the energy of the Las Vegas Strip, flashy, vibrant, dangerous, seductive. Every song serves the narrative. Every track belongs. This Baby Keem, Kendrick, and Rihanna record, it doesn't fit that world, not at all. This is a straight-up hit record. It's undeniable, but it doesn't have the thematic DNA of Casino. Putting this song on that album would have been like hanging a Van Gogh in the middle of a perfectly curated modern art gallery. It's brilliant on its own, but it disrupts the curation. It would have been jarring. And Keem, to his credit, was clearly willing to sacrifice individual hit records for the sake of the album's integrity as a complete body of work. That takes a level of artistic discipline that most people will never understand. Most artists can't even spell that word. Keem is living it. But here's where that theory starts to crack, because the sound of this record doesn't feel like Casino-era material anyway. The production, the vibe, the way all three artists interact on the track, it feels more recent,
Or at the very least, it feels like it could have come from a completely different session, a different creative headspace. Some people who've analyzed the sonic characteristics of the leak are pointing to this being a 2018 or 2019 recording, which would place it right in the window when Kendrick was actively writing those reference tracks for Rihanna. That timeline makes a lot of sense. And if that's the case, then Theory 2 becomes very compelling. Theory 2 is the Rihanna factor. Think about this from Rihanna's perspective. She has spent a decade building anticipation for her next album. Every snippet, every tease, every "I'm almost ready" comment adds another layer of expectation. If she had dropped a feature on a Baby Keem track, especially one where she's rapping and singing and absolutely demolishing the competition, that would have broken the carefully constructed mystique around R9. It would have given the people a taste of new Rihanna music in a context she didn't control. And Rihanna, above all else, is about control. She controls her brand. She controls her narrative. She controls when and how the world experiences her art. So maybe this wasn't Keem's decision to bury. Maybe it wasn't even Kendrick's. Maybe Rihanna heard this track back, loved it, knew it was incredible, and then said, "Not yet, not like this. When I come back, it has to be on my terms." And so the song went into the vault, not because it wasn't good enough, but because it was too good. It would have stolen the thunder from whatever Rihanna has planned for her official return. Theory 3 is more conspiratorial, and I'll admit I'm speculating here, but follow me for a second. We know that Kendrick has been writing reference tracks for multiple artists: Keem, J-Rock, Schoolboy Q, SZA, Cher, Beyonce, Rihanna. That's a lot of creative output flowing from one person to many. If too much of that becomes public knowledge, if the extent of Kendrick's behind-the-scenes involvement in other people's music becomes too transparent, it changes the perception of those artists. It creates a narrative that they don't want. The ghostwriting conversation is already volatile in hip-hop. We saw what it did during the Kendrick versus Drake war. Nobody involved in this circle wants more fuel on that fire. So maybe the decision to keep this song buried was a strategic one, designed to protect the mystique of everyone involved. Kendrick doesn't want people dissecting his fingerprints on Keem's music. Keem doesn't want people questioning his independence. And Rihanna definitely doesn't want anyone suggesting she needed a Kendrick reference to make great music. But here's the beautiful irony of all of this. The song leaked anyway. And now that it's out there, now that people have heard it, the reaction has been exactly what you'd expect. People are losing their minds. Because this isn't just a good song. This is a statement. The sheer star power of Baby Keem, Kendrick Lamar, and Rihanna on one track would have sold 500,000 copies off the title card alone before a single person pressed play, before a single note was heard. Just the announcement, Baby Keem featuring Kendrick Lamar and Rihanna, that's an event, that's a cultural moment. And the song lives up to the names. That's the craziest part. With that level of expectation, with those three names carrying that much weight, the song could have easily been a disappointment. But it's not. It's the opposite. Everyone delivers. Everyone brings something unique to the table. Keem with the infectious hook that won't leave your head, Rihanna with the verse that nobody saw coming, Kendrick with the effortlessly cool, layered, but accessible performance that only he can deliver. Together, they created something that transcends any individual era, any individual album rollout, any individual marketing strategy. It's timeless. It sounds like it could have come out 10 years ago. It sounds like it could come out tomorrow. It doesn't matter. The quality is undeniable. It's the kind of music that doesn't age, the kind of music that makes you angry it was ever locked away.
And that brings me to the bigger picture. Because this one song is really just the tip of an enormous iceberg. If Baby Keem, Kendrick, and Rihanna have this sitting in a vault somewhere, what else is hiding? We already know from the leaked reference tracks that Kendrick has written material for Rihanna that we've never heard. FIU and Trouble Me, both of which were reportedly completed songs that Kendrick made for himself and later sent to Rihanna for consideration on her next album. We know there are unreleased Keem tracks with Kendrick involvement that haven't surfaced. We know there are entire creative sessions between PG Lang artists that the public has zero knowledge of. The vault is deep, and what's been leaking out, slowly, piece by piece, is giving us just the faintest glimpse of what's inside. It's like peeking through a keyhole into a room filled with platinum records nobody ever pressed release on. And every single time a new track surfaces, every single time another file gets pulled from the shadows, the same haunting question echoes louder and louder. Why? Why are some of the most talented people alive sitting on the best music they've ever made? Maybe the answer is simpler than we think. Maybe in an era where albums are events, where rollout strategies are worth millions, where the timing of a release can mean the difference between a cultural moment and a footnote, maybe the smartest thing you can do is hold your best cards close to your chest. Let the anticipation build. Let the mythology grow. And then, when the moment is right, when the stars align, you play the hand that nobody knew you were holding. Or maybe, just maybe, some music is simply too dangerous to release, too revealing, too honest, too powerful. Maybe some songs capture a moment between artists that was never meant for public consumption, a creative communion that existed in a studio between family members and collaborators that was beautiful and raw and perfect in its privacy. But it's out now. The genie is out of the bottle, and once you hear Rihanna rap on that track, once you hear her switch to that falsetto mid-bar like it's nothing, once you hear Keem's hook drilling into your subconscious, once you hear Kendrick dancing between the righteous and the ratchet, you can't unhear it. You can't go back to pretending this song doesn't exist. The vault has been cracked, and what came out? A song that 3 of the biggest names in music decided the world wasn't ready for. But the world found it anyway. And now the only question left is this. If this is what they were hiding, what else is in there? Because I promise you, based on everything we've uncovered, everything that's leaked, everything the reference tracks and unreleased files have shown us, this is just the beginning. The surface has barely been scratched, and the deeper you dig into the PG Lang vault, the Kendrick vault, the Rihanna vault, the more you realize that some of the greatest music of our generation might never officially see the light of day. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that might just be the single biggest crime in music history. Not the leaking, the burying, the deliberate, conscious, strategic decision to keep a once-in-a-generation collaboration locked in a vault while the world waited in the dark. But at least now you know. You've heard what they didn't want you to hear. You've seen behind the curtain, and there is absolutely no going back from that. The question isn't whether this song deserved to be released. It absolutely did. The question is, who made the call to bury it? And what else are they hiding? Stay tuned, because the vault isn't done leaking, not even close. And the next time something surfaces from that hard drive, from that server, from whatever secure location these records live, I'll be right here, breaking it down, piece by piece, layer by layer, until every single buried truth sees light. You can absolutely count on that.